Welcome to Creators Anonymous, the podcast that searches out for creative people and tries to get to know them better and how they do their work. And today I have Phil from the podcast Aethuran Darksaga, a dark fantasy podcast. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm good. How are you doing with quarantine?
Sort of enjoying it a little bit. I'm not much of an outdoorsy people person, if I'm honest. So I'm enjoying it. It's challenging. It's definitely challenging.
Yeah, well, the best part about quarantine is you get to sit down and catch up on all the work you've been meaning to catch up on.
It's definitely true. Yeah, done a lot recently, actually, if I'm honest. I've spent more time planning things out for the storyline for the next season and things like that. So it's been got some artwork done. Definitely helped.
Really? Have you posted the artwork? Have I missed it, or?
It's on Twitter. I think it's actually on the pinned post. I'm not 100% sure.
I gotta check that right now because I'm like, wait, how did I miss this? But during quarantine, I'm still working, so I can understand how I missed it.
Yeah, my day job is I'm a welder fabricator, but I specifically build commercial vehicles, so I can't really do that from home, unfortunately.
I actually build construction equipment. I build vital parts for construction equipment and agriculture equipment. We also build motors for hospital beds and ventilators. So yeah, we're right there in the whole mix, and we don't get to go home.
At least someone needs to do that work though, so it's good that it's getting done.
Yeah, my wife's a teacher, so she's currently home right now, and which is great and everything, and I actually get to see her. But with me still working, I'm just glad I'm still able to provide, because a lot of people can't right now, and the unemployment system's a mess.
Yeah, I've been very lucky over here that I'm still receiving like 80% of my wage through the government, which is a good thing that's happened for us.
That is amazing. Yeah.
So I don't know what if it'd be feasible. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Where are you exactly? Because I've always I don't know if it's your accent or anything, but I was like, I wonder if he's in Australia.
No, I'm in northeast England, mate.
Oh,
near the border with Scotland.
Oh, you're not that far away from Bob from the Twisted Britain.
Fairly close. Well, by US standards, really close, but by British standards, I think he's about 200 mile away, maybe 100 mile away.
Oh, he's just a day trip.
Yeah, not too well. Actually, you could probably reach him in about 4 hours, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe I've over-exaggerated the numbers there.
Yeah, I was like, that's like what, a 4-hour drive? You can go up there, spend the day, drive home.
That's it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been planning to actually go and have a drink with him at some point, but it's best laid plans,
Well, you can't during quarantine anyway.
No.
Okay, so Aethuran Darksaga is a very, very unique podcast. Not only does it have an amazing storyline, a dark storyline that is not for, I can't say it's for everyone, but it's the story keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I remember listening to the first season going, okay, now I need the new episode, and it's not out for another week. I'm going to be biting at the bit. And that's actually how we got to talking on Twitter, because I was like, okay, dude, when's the next episode coming out? I'm biting at the bit. And I had so many questions that you kept replying to me like, oh, you have to wait till next week.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was something I initially didn't really plan to have each episode sort of end where you would want to listen to the next one, but it naturally developed that way as I realised it was going to be a podcast rather than a novel. I planned on basically writing a book, which I'd never done before. I'm not very, trying to think of the word, I didn't get very far in my education, should I say. So I kind of doubt myself a little bit whether I'm capable of producing a book or a novel, and I always had this thing where I needed feedback straight away from people, so I would write, like, say, 5 pages, send it to my friend who I know reads a lot, and he'd give me a bit of feedback, and then I'd do another 5 pages, send it to him, and then I'd be like you were there. Like, I'm waiting to hear back from his reply, but obviously he's got life and he's got time where he can't read it instantly, and then I'm waiting around. And it was weird how this sort of worked, where I was fairly quickly getting a bit of feedback from people who listen to the show, and that was like my incentive. You know, like I say it quite a lot. It is definitely the fuel that burns for my desire for this show to keep going. You know, I need that incentive. I need that feedback, and I'm sure I'm not unique in that, but it's definitely a massive motivator for me.
I'm right there with you. Ever since I started releasing my podcast, I've been getting a lot of feedback on it. So I'm like, ooh, I get to grow, and there's a lot of suggestions about how because we always search out creative people, and the biggest question we get is, well, what do you do to be creative? And I'm like, well, I do my podcast. They're like, no, it's creative, but it's not your art. What is your art? I'm like, ooh, I don't know.
I think it's definitely an art, though. Everyone's podcast, like, no matter what type of podcast you're doing, they're all different, and they're all unique to that individual person. So it's definitely, you're producing something, and art's very subjective, isn't it? Some people wouldn't say that, well, I've done art, but it is to a point.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a grind, and I think about it all the time, and I love the feedback from the fans. Like, it's amazing. So I can totally relate with you on that. But the one thing I wanted to know is, you have these main characters called the icons.
Yeah.
And at first, I thought you were saying Archon, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Who are these Archons? But then I realized you were saying icon, and I was like, oh, that's even better, because it's more like a symbol for people to rally behind.
Yeah.
And you have the ones I can remember are the icon of magics and the icon of war.
Yeah.
How many icons are there altogether?
In the current timeline of this, where this story set, this Darksaga story set, there's 4, and initially there was 4 as well. I haven't really talked much about the other 2. So you've got the icon of magics in the Darksaga, which is Kriya, and then you've got the icon of war, which is Anvadar. You also have the icon of knowledge, which is basically like a librarian type of role, but they gather and compile the knowledge and maintain the scriptures and general, like, libraries and tomes and stuff like that. All the information regarding the order and anything that they might encounter, you know. And then you've got Garrick, who was the icon of shadows. He will be coming into the show again. There'll be mention of him again. That's a massive spoiler for season 2, which I probably didn't mean to give away there, but he will be there. His role is very much, he controls like a spy network sort of thing, information gathering, scouting. Not so much now in that timeline, but in the past, the icon of shadows would definitely have been had like hired sort of trained assassins working under him. They would have been very much based around the art of subterfuge and that sort of thing. So
he's the if the right hand is the emperor's advisor, he's the left hand that does all the emperor's dirty work.
That's the one, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And then you have also the pinnacle of all the icons, which is the Grand Master in that current timeline, which is Ulrich. And he's definitely not a culmination of all of the icons, but he's definitely got skills that he could apply to them. So
when you introduced Ulrich into the series, I'm sorry, the way I imagined him may not be on the same way as you, but just when he stepped in and everything, I just imagined this giant Viking of a man that's just towering over. But he was that guy that like kept his arms crossed behind him and very composed. He was always that. Just how he came across to me was he was that composed dude that if things came down to it, you wouldn't survive in a one-on-one fight with him, because he's pretty much, I was imagining him being like the guy that trained all the other icons in their specific roles.
Yeah.
And he was like the strongest / he could do all the roles if need be.
Yeah, he's definitely that composed, silent, but extremely deadly type character. I haven't really fleshed out much of his background other than he has been the icon of what. Has been the icon, has been the Grand Master of the Order for quite some time. He does have a sister who is, I'm not sure, Yima, who is like basically Amvidar's like lost love sort of thing. There's been a time where he wasn't the Grandmaster and they were sort of both in the order together. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that there. But basically, yeah, he's highly skilled, highly trained, very composed and calm. But when he needs to, he's can unleash. Well, as you know from listening to the show, he's can unleash a bit of a hellstorm, should we say, or a fury that isn't matched by any of the other icons.
Yeah, I'm excited for his further growth. Oh well, not really growth. I'm just excited for more of his character to be fleshed out. Like if we get backstory on him, okay, but I really want to know what he's gonna be coming up. Like, and speaking of people coming up, the Icon of War, Amvidar, he was kind of the star of season 1.
Yeah.
And he was somebody I really, really riled behind. Like, I was like, oh, I like this guy. And the way I kind of imagined him was the main character, the Crusader from that game. What game is it? I had it on tip myself. Dante's Inferno.
Right, okay.
I kind of imagined a mix of him and War from Darksiders.
Yeah. That's a unique. It's a unique take. It's weird with Amvidar actually because a lot of people tell me different descriptions of him and how they imagine him to be, and none of them have been the same. It's actually quite. It's surprising for me because it's also like I'm trying to like think of the way to say this without I tried my best to sort of describe how he is and explain who he is, but everyone has like a different depiction in their mind of what they perceive him to be like or to have. But it's a good thing in another way because it's kind of why I didn't want to do any artwork for the show as well, because people have different views of what the character looks like in the head, even though they have very basic descriptions. From me, I kind of wanted to leave it to your interpretation with it being an audio based thing, especially when I didn't really have that much choice with the voices, unfortunately. I only do so many. But yeah, that's the first time I've had that, but I definitely would go with the Crusader from Dante's Inferno, 100%.
Yeah,
he's got that sort of righteous fury type of thing about him, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, and like honestly, that was my first thing. But I don't think you meant to capture this, but his ambiance and the way he kind of handles himself and holds himself, it felt very much like War from Darksiders. So I'm like, this guy looks and feels like the Crusader from Dante's Inferno, but he has this ambience that makes you feel like War. So I definitely like he was a character I super rallied behind. I was like, I can't wait to see what happens with him in season 2, and then the end of season 1 left me on such a cliffhanger. I'm like, okay, what happens with him in this trial? Spoiler alert. There's a trial at the end about him increasing his power, and it's not left to know if he failed or if he passed, if he's dead or alive, and I can't wait to find out what happens and where you're going with it.
Well, that might be something I need to have a look into he definitely dies, mate. He dies. He dies. He is dead, should I say?
Okay. When I say he lives or dies, I should really say I don't think death is the end for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Without giving away too much of the final plot, it's certainly not.
Okay. Because I love Amvidar. He is definitely a character that I want to know more about him. Like, honestly, if all of season 2 was Amvidar's backstory, I would be perfectly fine with that.
Well, I do actually plan on doing. It may or may not be. I'm not sure if it would be. If it's going to be put out in the podcast, or it might just be an audio book or a written book. But I do plan on doing some. Originally, the show was actually going to be like sort of mini episodes with where you follow like missions or situations that Anvidar's been in. That was originally the plan. When I changed my mind from it being a novel, I nearly stopped continuing that story and then started again and just thought, well, if I did it in episodes where this episode's about this certain situation, this episode's about that. And it's kind of how I came up with the idea for the Halloween special, where it's just a bit of Anvidar's backstory.
Yep.
There was actually meant to be another story in there with Orin reading a ghost story that my friend wrote, Kevin. Who plays Icon Syriac in the spin-off, The Damn Caravan. Yep. But we couldn't basically, I couldn't make it work in time to get it out for Halloween and get the episode out because we were writing it. Then he'd recorded himself speaking it, but the quality was like, at the time, I thought my quality was bad of my audio, and then it come across even worse when I received it from him because he'd recorded it from his phone. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. But I've still got his original written work, and I'd have to speak to him, but I may put it out again at some point. But the whole idea behind the Anvidar backstory thing is you will get again back to spoilers again with the season 2. I don't want to give any of the plot away whatsoever, but there will be characters from Anvidar's past giving information about Anvidar, and also there's people who knew him because you've got again spoilers. Rowan is still alive, Kriya is still alive, Garrick is still alive, Orin briefly knew him, so there's other people that he's interacted with the world who will come into the story and stuff. But I do plan on doing more with Anvidar's background. He's not my favorite, but he's definitely close for the first place. I don't want to have favorites because they have to die at times. So.
Yeah, that was so. Your inspirations behind the story, I feel like.
Yep.
I don't know if you play a lot of video games. Have you ever played? Have you ever played the Dark Souls saga?
I hadn't played them until I started writing this, because I was getting quite a lot of people saying, your show's a bit like, I think it was about 3 or 4 people had said, your show reminds me of Dark Souls. And I was like, well, I'll have to check it out. I have this thing where kind of, when I was a bit younger, I used to enjoy anime quite a lot. But I only liked a specific type of anime. And it had to be very dark and brutal and stuff like that. And in my head, I don't know why, because I knew nothing about Dark Souls, I thought Dark Souls was a bit of a crazy, over-the-top game that I probably wouldn't have enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I have no idea what gave me that impression. But as soon as people started mentioning it, and then, I knew a little bit about, Berserk.
Yep.
I knew a little bit about that, and then someone said, it was a friend at work actually, he said, if you like Berserk, you'll love Dark Souls, get it. And so I played Dark Souls 3, I think it was. I didn't get massively into it, but I played a good 20, 30 hours of it or something like that, which really, it's not really a lot for some games.
Dark Souls is a very brutal game, so 20, 30 hours doesn't get you very far.
No. I think, trying to think of where I was at. I think I was at some sort of bridge. I can't remember where it was, but I restarted the character about 2 or 3 times. But I enjoyed the challenge of it. That's what I like from my games. I like them to be hard. I like them you have to learn from them. But I've just recently started playing a game which I've played nearly every sort of year since I was 15 years old, and I'm 35 this year, which is Baldur's Gate, and I've just got onto Throne of Baal from Baldur's Gate 2 now.
I haven't played Baldur's Gate in so long.
The enhanced editions are good, really are good actually. I'm not too keen on the added characters that they've put in, because I feel like they just take a bit of, they're not quite, they don't have the same feel to them. They feel a bit, the feel added in, definitely feel, they don't feel part of the story. But yeah, Baldur's Gate for me, Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, they're my huge gaming inspirations.
Nice. So me being an anime fan, so I have to ask
Yeah.
you, what are the dark animes that you liked growing up that really helped inspire this?
I never really got into anime properly. I watched when I was a kid. I'm probably too young to watch it. My older cousin had. He was really into. He had Wicked City.
Ugh, good one.
Is it Three Times Three Eyes? I think it is, or something like that.
I don't know.
It's a weird one. It's very that was very violent. I think. Ghost in the Shell, The
Yeah.
Guyver.
Oh, I
Uh,
loved the Guyver.
yeah, I love Guyver as well. What else was there? There was honestly all sorts. And then I never watched any anime for years. And then I think it was Bleach. I think was the next thing I watched. So I watched pretty much everything because there was the full show was over when I got into it, so I got to watch the full thing. Really enjoyed that. I like it's weird because I watch it, I can't watch them in the dub. It ruins it for me. It feels too childlike. I don't know what it is, but specifically Bleach seems very. I don't know if it's the acting, and nothing against the voice actors because it's down to translation a lot of the time, isn't it? But yeah, I really prefer to watch my animes in with subtitles. There's just something about that the maybe it's because I don't understand the language, but it just makes it seem more raw and dark. But yeah, Bleach, Death Note, which yeah, it doesn't really have any influence on the show, but Death Note was one. I kind of got sick of that towards the end though. Trying to think now.
I did
'Cause-
not like how that ended.
no, it changed into a different show towards the end. I don't know what it felt like it did anyway. I'm trying to think. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched loads. Oh, I tried to watch the Seven Deadly Sins as well, and I finished that first season, but I could not get back into it after that. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, not really much. Apart from I watched, I suppose it's anime, but it's not Japanese anime. But the Dante's Inferno. When you mentioned
Oh,
that,
that
that
was
was
super
brilliant.
good.
Yeah, different artists for each.
Yep.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Uh, there's definitely one I think you should really check out because I know you like blood and guts and gore.
Yeah.
Attack on Titan.
You know, I've seen it actually. I haven't watched it, but I've seen that, and I've obviously watched Berserk. So much of Berserk. There's another one, Goblin Slayer. I've been told to check out,
Oh,
but I
super
haven't
good.
seen that. I haven't seen that
So
either.
an older one that's still super good, you should definitely like to check out is Claymore.
I knew you were going to say that actually. Yeah, that popped into my head. I haven't seen that either, but yeah, it's one I plan to watch
Yeah,
definitely.
I when I finished Claymore, I was super mad that there was nothing else on it, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" Because it was like they set up this huge story and then just left you flat, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, you can't do that."
Well, that feeling that you're getting there is exactly why. If I'm honest, I wanted to walk away from doing this show, the first season, quite a lot, and because of that feeling of the disappointment you get from where if you get into something and you enjoy something and then it's just taken away from you.
Yep.
That's a horrible feeling, and I wouldn't want to be the cause of that for anyone else. So it's not the only reason I kept going, but it was definitely in my mind a lot of the time. Even with this spin-off, I've thought about walking away from that because I just want to get onto season 2. But this story, this spin-off is important. It is going to have. I probably should have said this on the show actually. It is going to have information and backstory which will be important for season 2. You won't need to have listened to it, but these little subtle things I'm going to imprint or like plant into the season will play. You'll notice them if you've listened to the spin-off, if you know what I mean.
Nice. I've noticed some details, and I'm just like, wait, that resolves in season 1, and I was
Yeah.
like, and then there's a few other things I'm like, that sounds really important. I should remember that.
I've had a few people say that they've like one of my friends. He's really he's very supportive of me for it as well, and he keeps trying to push me to do more than a podcast with it and stuff. Which it I do plan on taking things in a different direction at some point, but or just what I can to develop. But he's listened to the show now 3 times through. And he said to me the other day, he went, I'm just listening to episode 11. He goes, and I can't believe I've missed. And he started talking about the things that he'd missed. And he went, it feels like a completely different show now. I know about that. And I was like, yeah. I said, well, that's what it's for. I said, like, I'm trying. I've got so much information I want to give to people because I want you to feel like the world's real and it has so much like lore and history and like legacy of these things that are in the world. But if I don't want to also be spoon feeding the listener. I don't want to be giving crazy exposition like, let's go to Calendar. Oh, isn't that where such and such is? Yes, let's go there so we can get that and then we'll go. Do you know, like I can't stand when things are just fed to you.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have. Yeah.
You gotta have that veil of mystery of like.
Definitely.
Okay, what's this new place they're talking about? Calendar. that sounds important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in that world, so those people would already know about that place. Or would ask that question, but you don't need to then, like, I don't know. Yeah, I won't get into that, but that's just a pet hate of mine doing movies or in books and stuff like that. Like, let me find out for myself. Those characters belong in that world. They wouldn't, like, you would never say to somebody, I'm going to go to such and such town, and you're like, oh, isn't that where isn't that where that great place sells ice cream? Yes, it is. Let's go to that place to get that ice cream. Yes, we will. Wasn't there a huge battle outside that ice cream shop? You know what I mean? Like, too much of that. I can't stand it. As you can probably tell.
that is definitely a big thing. So I know they're like, when I'm watching shows and everything, I love that feeling of, okay, what is this? Can't you just freaking tell me what it is and not make me watch 130 episodes just to find out? But if they would have told me, then I wouldn't have watched 130 episodes.
Exactly. Plus that mystery, and when it is revealed to be what it is, those things, whether they're important to the plot or not, they give life to something that make the world itself feel alive. And
I love it because I just imagine putting that last puzzle piece into a completed puzzle, and you're just sitting here going, I could have totally seen that.
Well, I think in the second season, you're going to be saying that quite a lot because what I've got planned for a lot of things. I'm not going to lie, I've always had this thing where I've always wanted to do this huge, like a running theme or this great plan that the evil guys are doing, and it's all going to unveil itself, but I never was able to like sort of pull that off. So because of the way I sort of write it, I'll make it up as I go along, basically. And what I've done is, for this second season, I've spent time to plot things out, but I've just gave myself like important points to hit, and then I'll make up everything else that goes in between. But I've managed to link a few things together that I had planned for the first season, and we'll sort of develop more into that second season. But I always want you to feel like, that's because of such and such, or someone's mentioned that, and these, like, there's, I'm trying my best to try and explain this without giving away spoilers, or, because like I can't do that anyway. But I like to talk about it, and that's just part of the problem.
Well, if you ever need somebody to call off the record, give me a little ring.
I appreciate that. My friend Kevin, like I say, who plays Icon of War, he should probably be paid for it, because every so many days I'll ring him up and I'll go, right, I've got this idea now. This is what's going to happen to Rowan. Tell me what you think. And then I'll be halfway through that, and something will click, and I'll go, what about if I did this instead? And he's like, yeah. So he's heard the whole story pretty much already, and I do it all the time. I think I seem to develop ideas better by talking to him. I don't know if it's a gift or a curse for him, to be honest.
Oh, come on. Friends don't let friends pay them to have fun.
True, yeah. I hope he's enjoying it. He's been roped into that. He's been roped into that role, so he will also be playing a role in the second season as well. One of the I'm going to have a new character that's coming into it. I haven't fully decided on his surname, but Rothgar.
You can keep it there, like.
Okay.
no too many spoilers. But I kind of feel like with my co-host Seth, I feel like I kind of roped him into this, and I hope he's having a lot of fun because we talk about the podcast a lot. We talk about like who we could possibly get on here, and just like dreams of getting people like Zach Braff or the guy that played the Green Ranger in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like there's just a ton of people that we just love to get on, but I mean, the chances of doing that are slim to none because
I think with podcasting is one thing that I've only been doing this for about 2 years now, and I think it's the more you do for the length of time you do, the better things get for you, if you know what I mean. Like I try to explain, like it would make sense that obviously you're like say like if downloads are important, you would obviously expect that like downloads would obviously keep increasing. If they don't, then you think something's wrong. But a lot of it is just seems to be like I'm trying to how can I explain this? Right, I had when I started my first season, I won't say too much in numbers, but I think I had something roughly about 28,000 or something like that total downloads. Then now I don't have exactly double that, but the amount that I've put out is not the same, if you know what I mean. I haven't put out as much content, but I've got more subscribers and listeners that I can tell through using apps and stuff like that than I've ever had before, and it's growing at a faster rate than it ever was before, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
And it's just simply because I've been around for that long, becoming more of a name, and yeah.
And honestly, the one thing I'm actually surprised about, because I listen to podcasts all day at work, and I'm probably subscribed to about 500 podcasts, and I have a weekly rotation of podcasts I listen to, and whenever Aethuran jumps in there, I'm always like yes. And like I have you set up for auto download, feed into my next one. So like no matter what, like as soon as you're up, you're at the top of my list.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
But I'm honestly surprised that I haven't heard your voice on other podcasts. And I'm like you do pretty much so many voices throughout the first season and the spinoff that I'm just like, how has nobody reached out to this guy as talent? Like, how has he not been approached to do voice acting in other mediums?
I don't know if you know of. I've done parts in a play. It's not a main role, but one of the supporting roles in The Cullen. I'm in that as Wilkes. I've just well, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. It'll be out before, but I'm in the finale for Starcalled. Some good friends with Gabe and Randy. We pretty much speak to each other nearly every day. So I'm also in the Dice Tower Theatre. I've just been doing that with Mike, who's also playing quite an important role in my season 2 as well. Mike actually. What else have I been in? Oh, Aidan Rosewell. I'm in Aidan's Days of My Life and Room. I think that's it actually. And I've obviously been on Twisted Britain with Bob.
Oh yeah.
But not voice acting though. But yeah, I mean, I would like to. I would like to do more, but you know, it's. I'm not sure. A lot of the time, I think some people specifically with my accent. I know, obviously, I do change it for certain characters as well. Some people either like it or hate it, and it's one of those things where it might be hard to understand for some people, you know. So I don't know. I'd like to do more. I may be doing some on another fantasy show soon as well. Just waiting to hear back from them.
Honestly, do you know what show I really wanted to hear you on?
What's that?
Vampires of Whitechapel.
I haven't listened to that, to be honest with you.
Super good show. Super good show. And every single time on it, I'm like, you guys should be getting Phil on here. So
That's my problem at the moment. Is I don't like. I'm like you, where I listen to podcasts at work. But I also when I don't know whether this is a good thing or not. But while I'm in the process now of writing, I won't listen to anyone's work. I won't watch. Well, I may watch stuff that like I'm waiting to watch The Last Kingdom. I've already read those books, so I kind of know what's coming anyway. But the new season's just come out. I'll try not to watch something that will influence me too much because I don't want to subconsciously plagiarize someone's work.
Oh, yeah.
I had a character that I've never completed a novel, never completed a book. I have about probably close to 20 start. Some of them are very similar, some of them aren't. But the longest, sorry, not the longest, the one I did the most of, spent the most time on. I didn't realize that I'd basically created like a medieval like Wolverine character, and it was so much like Wolverine. I didn't realize until I was talking to my friend. He's like, "Mate, this is like basically Wolverine, don't you, in like a medieval setting?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he went, "Well, look at him there. He's kind of indestructible. He's small. He's got like these claw hands." I was like, "You're right. So let's just knock that on the head." And and that was something that I did a long, long time ago, like years ago. I mean, I wasn't even like I was about 18 when I did that. So obviously things have changed and developed since then, and my writing and influence is certainly different. But I don't want that to happen again. There'd be nothing worse for me. It's bad enough that something I've wanted to say for a long time. Calendar was never meant to be called Calendar, and it was.
What was it supposed to be called?
Well, it did have a different name originally before it was converted to the worship of Galador. So it was Dreangon, is what it was called then. It was always going. I had this in my other works. Calendar is basically like I've pinched, sort of like took the idea from another job, and it was always called kale, and then it was K, like the cabbage kale.
Yeah.
But and this is the worst part about it all is I didn't use kale because I was told that there's a character, and I remember him from Warcraft 3. There's a character called Kale Thas or Kael'thas or something. I think it's Kale Thas or Kale, who's a mage in World of Warcraft. And so what I did was, in my head, I thought, well, I'll still use Kale, but I'll merge it with the name of the god, so I'll call it Kaeldor. No. And then, out of nowhere, Calendar popped up. Unfortunately, Calendar is also in World of Warcraft. It's just got a Kalimdor, I think it's called in World of Warcraft. And I hate that I've done that. I really hate that I've done that. It may or may not be part of the reason why Calendar is destroyed by the end of the first season.
Oh no, I don't think that's really a spoiler. I think I totally called that because as your demons are kind of talking about their plans and everything, and like one of their plans I think they mentioned in episodes 2 or 3 was to destroy Kalandor.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that place is gone. Like I was like, if that place survives season 1, then I'll be drastically surprised. And it did, and I really was surprised. And I was like, oh, this place is gonna burn. I was like, it's gone.
Calendar gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally called that. But so you do a lot of the voices on your own and everything. Was that, when it comes down to an editing standpoint, was that a whole lot easier to deal with? Because if you ever was like, I don't like that, re-record. You'd have to call somebody up like, hey, so I really liked that take, but I kind of want to redo it. Do you mind redoing it?
The weird thing was, I never, like, because obviously, it's definitely easier with me being the writer as well. I know how I want the character to speak, or how they want to show their emotions and stuff. Since editing things together for the damn caravan, it's a hell of a lot easier doing it myself, massively. Not just down to people's takes and things like that, but because I also have this weird thing where I won't do retakes, and I never did anything more than twice at the most with my dialogue for any of my characters, because I know it sounds a bit weird. Well, I don't know how other people work. but it always sounds more natural to me when it's first take, as long as I don't mess the line up, which I try not to. It's like I don't want to over practice something because it starts to become
Rehearsed.
yeah, and then it's obvious as well, and but I've never. Weirdly enough, the one character who I've never messed lines up for is Astaroth, and I feel like I just slip into this thing about how, like, when I do the voice for him. Obviously, it's I do put some effects on there to make him sound more demonic, but for some reason with with his lines, because it's usually I find it very easy to do like these aggressive, evil sounding these characters. So I've never had to retake any of his lines, which is a good thing because. It's certainly damaging my throat doing that voice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, was that a combination of editing or was that all your voice? Because man, that had to be hard to do.
I had this thing where I would do his voice, and then, well, I don't want to give away too much because I noticed there's a lot of people when they do. I did something different, I think, when I was doing where I was doing my voices for my demons, because a lot of people would just do a specific, what I've heard, what shows I have heard when people do like a demonic sounding voice or whatever, they all sound very like they've got this similar effect to them. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to kind of give away what I do for mine. But yeah, a lot of it will be down to it is down to the voice as well, because I would love to share with you, like I have my first episode of season 2 already finished, ready to go, and I'm about 95% finished doing the writing on the second episode. So there's a Mike actually, who is in Dice Tower Theatre. He's playing one of the ancient ones, which are going to come into the story. Aethuran, the Cambonai. Bloody, that's Baldur's Gate leaking in there. The Cambion. He's
sorry about that.
That's okay, mate. That happens all the time with man, so it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm just, oh no, everything's falling apart right now. My wife is done with the staying home thing.
Yeah, well, Mad still goes out, you see, because she's a nurse. She's on like a specialist team at the hospital, so she's dealing with like people who are dying basically, and so she's out quite a lot. Yeah,
she is a trooper, and tell her the whole world thanks her for her service.
Yeah, it's hard with her being at home as well, because obviously she's having a hard time with it. So
yeah, I get it though. It's just still give her a big hug from the world, or at least everybody on in the podcasting family, because man, she is a trooper and she's on those front lines.
Yeah, it's definitely having an effect on her, like, but she's good at her job, very good at her job. So yeah.
But I can keep talking to you forever, and I don't want to take up much more of your time because I know it's getting late there.
That's all right.
So thank you for everything you have told me and all the spoilers you've told me, because I'm not editing those out.
No problem, mate. No problem.
But where can people find you on the internet? Where can they find your podcast? Any merch that you have? Anything like that? Where can people support you?
On Twitter, I am at Aethuran Podcast. Just search for Aethuran, which is AETHURAN, and it should come up. There's no other show spelled like it. So I do have a TeePublic store, which is under Aethuran as well. Just type that in, you'll find it. I've got a Patreon. Yeah, that's about as much as I've got.
That's all the important stuff.
Yeah, I did have. Yeah, I'm trying to think now if anything else. There's a Reddit. There's a subreddit as well, which I'm not too active on, but I've got a few people there.
Nice. So subreddit for Aethuran Darksaga.
Yeah, it's just /Aethuran again.
Okay, buddy. Thank you again so much for taking the time to do this, and sorry for the hiccups, but
that's okay. It's all good.
And to everyone else, thank you for joining us on Creators Anonymous. If there's anyone else out there that deserves to have their story told, please reach out to me on Twitter at CreatorZAnon. You can also reach us at creatorzanon@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Make sure to rate and review us. And if you want to talk with me or Phil personally, check us out in the Cast Junkie Discord channel. And until next time, stay creative.